Good evening and welcome to the September 25th, 2018 final budget meeting of the Brevard County with the County Commissioners. We have a quorum, so I'll call this meeting to order. And if you would please bow your heads for a moment of silence. Thank you. If you join us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to move right into public hearings. And County Manager, I'll turn this over to you, sir.
Thank you. For agenda item D1, Madam Chair and members of the board, agenda item D1 allows for the reading of the tentative aggregate operating millage rate to fund the portion of the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget that is supported by property taxes. At this time, I would ask that the Budget Office read into the record the tentative aggregate millage rate for fiscal year 2018-2019.
Madam Chair and members of the board, the aggregate tentative millage rate for the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget is 6.0349 mils. This represents a 0% change to the aggregate rollback rate millage of 6.0349 mils.
Madam Chair, members of the board, agenda item D2 allows for the public to comment on the county budget for fiscal year 2018-2019. Before we begin public comment, I would ask that the Budget Office read into the record the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget.
The fiscal year 2018-2019 budget is $1,302,977,360. The budget represents an increase of $18,056,545, or 1.41% more than the fiscal year 2017-2018 current budget of $1,284,920,815.
Madam Chair, we are now ready to accept public comments on the budget for fiscal year 2018-2019.
Thank you, sir. I have two comment cards at this time. Ms. Sarah Ann Conkling.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Ann Conkling. I live on South Lakemont Drive in Cocoa. Thank you all for listening to me tonight. Thank you for your hard work on the budget. There are three things in this budget that are very upsetting to me, and I'm sure you all know what they are because I've communicated with you. First of all, this budget cuts the budget for the Community Action Agency in half from the previous fiscal year. It cuts about $185,000 from that budget, which may leave up to 200 families in our county homeless. These are elderly people, disabled people, vulnerable people, mothers with children, people I care dearly about. Second of all, this budget expands the cuts to the community-based organizations who also serve our most vulnerable citizens. That percentage of cut went up this year from what it was the year before. I understand it's a graded thing. It's going to be even more next year. And again, these are cuts that very disproportionately affect our most vulnerable citizens. And third, also, no surprise, this budget does not contain enough budgetary expansion for public transportation. I understand there is a small increase. We've been getting small increases predictably over many, many years that I've been in front of you asking for them. But we all know, all of you know, that it's going to take a substantial, substantive, huge, much bigger commitment to our public transportation system to make it a good system for the disabled people who depend on it, to make it a good commuter substitute for people who go to work, to make it good for our tourists who want to get back and forth. Our public transportation needs a lot more funding. It needs a lot more than what you're giving it. I'm concerned that the five of you wonderful people who I like very much personally I'm concerned that you don't care enough about our poor and disenfranchised citizens to use public money to care for them. We have a huge budget. We have an $18 million increase this year, and still that $185,000 cut to the poor persists in this budget. There's no reason for that, except that you don't want to help the poor with public funds. We're seeing a lot of political crap right now. I'd like it to end. I'm sure you're weary of it too. I want politicians who are willing to do the right thing, even when it takes political courage and may cost you re-election, to do it, to support it. These vulnerable citizens need your help. I will always be in front of you speaking for them until the cows come home or until I can't speak anymore. And I would ask that one of you have the political courage to at least move to restore those community action funds to the budget. Thank you very much.
Ms. Gail Meredith?
Good evening, Commissioners. I too would like to speak on behalf of the poor and the people who are left out of this budget. It's shocking to see that we no longer care for the poor in our community and that things are as bad as they are, and that public transportation is a complete joke here. I'd like to register my concern and hope that someday we'll be in a position to be more compassionate.
Thank you. Ms. Elizabeth Adams?
Hello, County Commissioners. I am here also on behalf of the poor. Particularly, I have an issue with the transit. It's very important that everyone is able to utilize mass transit. As Ms. Conklin said, it is a great commuter item for everyone to get to where they need to go. I have a personal example that I think that you really should know about, and this comes from Titusville. That's where I live. Parish Medical, big employer, right? A lot of people go to work there. A lot of people can't take the bus to get to work there. A young woman came and knocked on my door because she saw that I had a car, and she asked me, would I take her to work? She was in her 90-day probationary period. She was pregnant. She needed to get to work on time. I said, sure enough, between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m., depending on the week, depending on the schedule, I took her to work. I picked her up too, because sometimes she needed to go and get groceries and things like that. So I just want you to understand, the people that need the buses can't use them, because if you got to go to work before 8 a.m., if you get off after 4 p.m., you're not really cared for as far as the buses go. So I just wanted to let you all know that in case you didn't know. You might not rely on a bus sometimes, but a lot of people do. I myself had car problems, and I said, you know what, I'll take the bus. It got me where I needed to go, but it was really inconvenient. So I just want to let you know, in case you aren't aware, that does affect a lot of your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, that's all of the comment cards, so I'm going to close public comment. Commissioners, do we have any discussion before our county manager moves on to agenda item D3? County manager?
And commissioners have the opportunity to make comments when we deal with each of the individual taxing levies at the time that we adopt each millage as well.
Thank you, sir.
At this time, agenda item D3, Madam Chair and members of the board, budget office personnel will now read into the record the millage and related ad valorem revenue for each taxing authority. Following the reading of each tax levy, it is recommended that the chair entertain a motion for approval of that millage.
For the general fund countywide millage, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 3.9456, which is a 1.26% increase from the rollback millage of 3.8964, generating ad valorem revenue of $148,608,264.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the millage?
I'll make a motion to approve the millage.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Isnardi, second by Commissioner Barfield. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passes 5-0.
For the Brevard Library District, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.4731, which represents a 1.85% increase from the rolled back millage of 0.4645, generating $17,960,475 of ad valorem revenue.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I have a motion to approve the millage?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Smith.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the Brevard mosquito control, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.1869, which is a 1.85% increase when compared to the rolled back millage of 0.1835, which generates $7,095,356
Thank
in
you,
ad
ma'am.
valorem revenue.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I have a motion to approve the millage?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Isnardi, second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the Fire Control MSTU, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.6504, which represents a 2.07% increase from the rollback millage of 0.6372, generating $12,032,470 of ad valorem revenue.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I have a motion to approve the millage?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Tobias, second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the Recreation District 1 MSTU, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.5995, which is a 1.96% increase from the rolled back millage of 0.5880, generating $2,906,822 in ad valorem revenue.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Isnardi, second by Commissioner Barfield. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For Recreation District 4 maintenance, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.6892, which represents a 1.47% increase from the rollback millage of 0.6792, generating $2,730,219.
Thank you. A motion?
So moved.
Commissioner Isnardi, a second. Second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the Tyco Airport Authority, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.0000, which represents no change from the rolled back millage of 0.0000, generating $0.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Barfield, second.
Second.
By Commissioner Isnardi. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the Law Enforcement MSTU, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 1.0925, which represents a 2.21% increase from the rollback millage of 1.0689, generating $18,700,684.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
That's okay. I think Commissioner Tobias was first, and then Commissioner Isnardi second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the Road and Bridge District 1 MSTU, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.6554, which is a 2.06% increase from the rollback millage of 0.6422, generating ad valorem revenue of $2,118,193.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Barfield and second by
Second.
Commissioner Tobias. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the Road and Bridge District 2 MSTU, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.2472, which represents a 2.06% increase from the rollback millage of 0.2422, generating $1,005,139.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second?
Second by Commissioner Isnardi. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the Road and Bridge District 3 MSTU, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.2592, which is a 2.29% increase when compared to the rollback millage of 0.2534, generating $474,088.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Barfield, second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For Road and Bridge District 4 MSTU, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.2664, which represents a 2.23% increase from the rollback millage of 0.2606, generating $1,352,883 of ad valorem revenue.
Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second?
second by Commissioner Isnardi. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the Road and Bridge District 5 MSTU, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.3811, which is a 2.39% increase of the rollback millage of 0.3722, generating $569,009.
Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Isnardi, second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Passes 5-0.
For the Road and Bridge District 4 MSTU beaches, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.2545, which represents a 2.41% increase from the rollback millage of 0.2485, generating $154,673.
Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the Road and Bridge District 4 MSTU Merritt Island South, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.1235, which is a 1.31% increase from the rollback millage of 0.1219, generating $21,326.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Isnardi, second by Commissioner Barfield. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the environmentally endangered lands, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.0641, which represents an 11.48% increase from the rollback millage of 0.0575, generating $2,433,453.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Isnardi for discussion.
Yes, I'm going to support this, but only with the caveat, and I spoke with the manager about this, and this included not any purchasing of new lands, correct?
That's correct.
Because I know we have a maintenance issue with some of our Eels property, and we're not maintaining what we have, and rather than go out and just buy more land that we can't maintain doesn't make a whole lot of fiscal sense. So I'm okay with this millage increase, given the fact that we're going to maintain properly what we have and hopefully make it more accessible for public. So I just wanted to be on the record for that.
Thank you, ma'am. Was that a second, ma'am?
Sure. Second.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Isnardi. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the Port St. John Canaveral Groves Recreation MSTU, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.3377, which is a 2.02% increase from the rollback millage of 0.3310, generating $512,746.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Isnardi, second by Commissioner Barfield. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the North Brevard Recreation District, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.2425, which represents a 17.21% increase from the rollback millage of 0.2069, generating $721,443.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Barfield. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the Merritt Island Recreation MSTU, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.3387, which represents a 12.6% increase when compared to the rolled-back millage of 0.3008, generating $1,105,185.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Barfield, second by Commissioner Isnardi. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the South Brevard Recreation District, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.3116, which represents a 13.19% increase from the rollback millage of 0.2753, generating $6,796,255.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Isnardi, second by Commissioner Barfield. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
The next 5 millages are our voter-approved debt service millages. The first one is the environmentally endangered lands. The fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.0843, which represents a 0% change from the rollback millage of 0.0843, generating $3,211,730.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Isnardi.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the Port St. John Canal Groves Recreation MSTU, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative debt millage is 0.000, which is no change from the rollback millage of 0.000, generating $0.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Barfield, second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the North Brevard Recreation District debt, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.5575, which is a 4.48% increase from the rolled-back rate of 0.5336, generating $1,664,337.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Isnardi, second by Commissioner Tabaya. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the Merritt Island Recreation MSTU debt millage, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.4613, which represents a 3.55% increase from the rollback millage of 0.4455, generating $1,506,542.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Barfield, second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
For the South Brevard Recreation District debt, the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative millage is 0.2884, which is 2.27% increase from the rollback millage of 0.2820, generating $6,321,672.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Isnardi, second by Commissioner Barfield. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Good job, ladies.
Madam Chair and members of the board, the Budget Office will announce the recomputed aggregate millage and the change represented by that recomputed millage from the aggregate rolled back millage.
Madam Chair and members of the board, the aggregate millage rate for the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget is 6.0349 mils. This represents a 0% change from the aggregate rollback millage rate of 6.0349.
Madam Chair and members of the board, the Budget Office will read into the record the resolution establishing the county's final millages for fiscal year 2018-2019. Following the reading of the resolution, it is recommended that the chair entertain a motion for approval of the resolution.
Thank you, sir.
A resolution to adopt final millages pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt final millages for fiscal year 2018-2019 and providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, is taxing authority for the taxing entities identified in Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and made a part hereof by this reference, does hereby levy the millages specified in Exhibit A, and does hereby state the percent by which the aggregate millage rate to be levied is a change from the rollback aggregate millage.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Barfield, second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item D4.
Madam Chair and members of the board, for agenda item D4, the Budget Office will read into the record the resolution adopting the county's total budget for fiscal year 2018-2019. Following the reading of the resolution, it is recommended that the chair entertain a motion for approval of the resolution.
A resolution to adopt a final budget pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 and providing for an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing and governing authority, does hereby adopt an operating and capital budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2018 and ending September 30th, 2019, in the amount of $1,302,977,360.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Tabaya. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Madam Chair and members of the board, the Budget Office will read into the record resolutions establishing final millages for those dependent taxing districts for which the county levies a millage. There are 6 resolutions that will be read in succession. Following the reading of these resolutions, it is recommended that the chair entertain a motion for approval of all 6 resolutions.
A resolution to adopt a final millage pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final millage for the Brevard County Free Public Library District and providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the Brevard County Free Public Library District, does hereby levy the millage specified in Exhibit A. For the Brevard County Free Public Library District, the fiscal year 2018-2019 adopted millage is 0.4731, which is a 1.85% increase from the rollback millage of 0.4645, generating $17,960,475.
A resolution to adopt a final millage pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final millage for the Brevard Mosquito Control District for fiscal year 2018-2019, providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the Brevard Mosquito Control District, does hereby levy the millage specified in Exhibit A. For the Brevard Mosquito Control District, the fiscal year 2018-2019 adopted millage is 0.1869, which is a 1.85% increase from the rollback millage of 0.1835, generating $7,095,356.
A resolution to adopt a final millage pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final millage for the Brevard County Recreation Special District for Operations and Maintenance for fiscal year 2018-2019 and providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the Brevard County Recreation Special District for Operations and Maintenance, does hereby levy the millage specified in Exhibit A. For the Brevard County Recreation Special District for Operations and Maintenance, the fiscal year 2018-2019 adopted millage is 0.6892, which is a 1.47% increase from the rollback millage of 0.6792, generating $2,730,219.
A resolution to adopt a final millage pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final millage for the Titusville-Cocoa Airport Authority for fiscal year 2018-2019, providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the Titusville-Cocoa Airport Authority, does hereby levy the millage specified in Exhibit A. For the Titusville-Cocoa Airport Authority, the fiscal year 2018-2019 adopted millage is 0.0000, which is no change from the rollback millage of 0.000, generating $0.
A resolution to adopt a final millage pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final millages for the South Brevard Recreation Special District for fiscal year 2018-2019 and providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the South Brevard Recreation Special District, does hereby levy the millage specified in Exhibit A. For the South Brevard Recreation Special District operating millage, the fiscal year 2018-2019 adopted millage is 0.3116, which is a 13.19% increase from the rollback millage of 0.2753, generating $6,796,255. And for the South Brevard Recreation Special District debt millage, the fiscal year 2018-2019 adopted millage is 0.2884, which is a 2.27% increase from the rollback millage of 0.2820, generating $6,321,672.
A resolution to adopt a final millage pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final millages for the North Brevard Recreation Special District for fiscal year 2018-2019, providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the North Brevard Recreation Special District, does hereby levy the millages specified in Exhibit A. The North Brevard Recreation Special District operating millage for fiscal year 2018-2019 is 0.2425, which is a 17.21% increase from the rollback millage of 0.2069, generating $721,443. The North Brevard Recreation Special District debt millage for fiscal year 2018-2019 is 0.5575, which is a 4.48% increase from the rollback millage of 0.5336, generating $1,664,337.
Thank you, ma'am. We are ready to entertain a motion to approve these millages.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Barfield, second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Madam Chair and members of the board, for agenda item D6, the Budget Office will read into the record 11 resolutions establishing adopted budgets for the dependent districts of the county. These resolutions will be read in succession. Following the reading of these resolutions, it is recommended that the chair entertain a motion for approval of the 11 resolutions.
A resolution to adopt a final operating budget for the Brevard County Free Public Library District pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 and providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the Brevard County Free Public Library District, does hereby adopt a final operating budget as presented and amended at the public hearing held on September 25, 2018, for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, and ending September 30, 2019, in the amount of $27,529,791.
A resolution to adopt a final operating budget for the Brevard Mosquito Control District pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2018-2019, providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the Brevard Mosquito Control District, does hereby adopt a final operating budget as presented and amended at the public hearing held on September 25, 2018, for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, and ending September 30, 2019, in the amount of $9,765,751.
A resolution to adopt a final operating budget for for the Brevard County Recreation Special District for Operations and Maintenance pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 and providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the Brevard County Recreation Special District for Operations and Maintenance, does hereby adopt a final operating budget as presented and amended at the public hearing held on September 25, 2018, for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, and ending September 30, 2019, in the amount of $2,852,689.
A resolution to adopt a final operating budget for the Titusville-Cocoa Airport Authority pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final budget for the fiscal year 2018-2019 and providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the Titusville-Cocoa Airport Authority, does hereby adopt the final operating budget as presented and amended at the public hearing held on September 25, 2018, for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, and ending September 30, 2019, in the amount of $2,369,445.
A resolution to adopt a final operating budget for the South Brevard Recreation Special District pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final budget for the fiscal year 2018-2019 and providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the South Brevard Recreation Special District, does hereby adopt a final operating budget as presented and amended at the public hearing held on September 25, 2018, for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, and ending September 30, 2019, in the amount of $13,117,927.
A resolution to adopt a final operating budget for the North Brevard Recreation Special District pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 and providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the North Brevard Recreation Special District, does hereby adopt the final operating budget as presented and amended at the public hearing held on September 25, 2018, for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, and ending September 30, 2019, in the amount of $2,385,780.
A resolution to adopt a final operating budget for the Merritt Island Redevelopment Agency pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 and providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the Merritt Island Redevelopment Agency, does hereby adopt a final operating budget as presented and amended at the public hearing held on September 25, 2018, for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, and ending September 30, 2019, in the amount of $4,441,342.
A resolution to adopt a final operating budget for the Barefoot Bay Water and Sewer District pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 and providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the Barefoot Bay Water and Sewer District, does hereby adopt a final operating budget as presented and amended at the public hearing held on September 25, 2018, for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, and ending September 30, 2019, in the amount of $6,222,705.
A resolution to adopt a final operating budget for the Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 and providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District, does hereby adopt a final operating budget as presented and amended at the public hearing held on September 25, 2018, for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, and ending September 30, 2019, in the amount of $4,525,226.
A resolution to adopt a final operating budget for the North Brevard Economic Development Zone pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 and providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the North Brevard Economic Development Zone, does hereby adopt the final operating budget as presented and amended at the public hearing held on September 25, 2018, for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, and ending September 30, 2019, in the amount of $3,415,351.
This is the last one. A resolution to adopt a final operating budget for the Max Brewer Memorial Law Library pursuant to Chapter 200 Florida statutes, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 and providing an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County, Florida, as taxing authority for the Max Brewer Memorial Law Library, does hereby adopt a final operating budget as presented and amended at the public hearing held on September 25, 2018, for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, and ending September 30, 2019, in the amount of $401,474.
Thank you, ma'am. Would it be possible to read the number again for the Barefoot Bay Water and Sewer District?
Sure. For the Barefoot Bay Water and Sewer District, it's $6,220,705.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I have a motion to pass the budgets? Motion by Commissioner Smith.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Barfield. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, passes 5-0.
Madam Chair and members of the board, item D7 requests that the chair entertain a motion to authorize the county manager or designee to execute all letters and exhibits that are necessary to establish that Brevard County has complied with sections 200.065 and 218.63 Florida statutes, the Truth and Millage Law.
Thank you, sir. Can I have a motion to pass the Truth and Millage Law?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Barfield, second by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, passes 5-0. We're moving into item D8. I think we just completed the budget. Thank you for all your work. Jill, Chelsea, yeah, thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. This agenda item is an ordinance to replace the 150-day conventional septic moratorium. The requested action includes 3 parts. Your approval of moving forward to the second and final public hearing for the proposed ordinance, approved legislative intent to clean up nearly 40 pages of additional code, county code, in 3 different chapters of the code that are no longer relevant or conflict with what is proposed here. And then to direct staff regarding a grant program to assist low-income applicants with complying with this new ordinance. So we started our public input on the proposed ordinance in early August with 3 outreach events to the community, the Home Builders and Contractors Association, environmental groups, and the building officials for all the cities. And then we had our workshop with or public hearing with the BCAC, the Building Contractors Advisory Committee, and the local planning agency in September. And tonight we're here before you for the first public hearing. So as you know, the Indian River Lagoon is an ecological, recreational, and economic treasure. We've suffered intense blooms, algae blooms, since 2011. The Save Our Indian River Lagoon project plan, funded by the half-cent sales tax, allocates $68 million to removing or retrofitting the worst septic systems in the county over the next 10 years. And that $68 million will address 3,734 of those worst systems. However, we've learned that the pace of development with the health department has permitted nearly 800 septic systems per year while we're trying to address the worst ones. So we're currently losing ground. In light of this, the County Commission adopted a 150-day moratorium back on May 22nd and asked staff to move forward with a replacement ordinance that we have presented to you this evening. The moratorium overlay included all of the barrier island, including Merritt Island, and a 50-meter buffer around the Indian River Lagoon system, its tributaries, natural and man-made water bodies connected to the lagoon. Within that overlay area, any new septic systems permitted would have to reduce total nitrogen in their effluent by at least 65%. That 50-meter buffer width was based on studies conducted in the southern end of the Indian River Lagoon in St. Lucie and Martin counties. So what we embarked on during the 150-day moratorium was to do some study within Brevard County on what the best overlay width would be. So as you know, septic systems, 0 to 10% of nitrogen reduction occurs in the septic tank, and then if the drain field is working properly, you can get 10 to 30% more nitrogen reduction in the drain field. The rest of the nutrients soak down into the groundwater, and if they're close to the lagoon or a tributary that connects to the lagoon, those nutrients are going out and feeding algae blooms. Fortunately, there are alternatives to conventional septic systems. One of the options we talked to you about during the moratorium are these NSF 245 certified aerobic treatment units. In addition to these, on July 31st, the state adopted a new rule that permitted a passive in-ground nitrogen-reducing biofilter. So these systems are a less expensive way to achieve the 65% reduction goal where there's sufficient depth to the water table. Going into this, we had an understanding of where our nutrient sources were coming from. These pie charts are based on actual measurements of nitrogen and phosphorus coming from point source discharges. It's the top sliver. The blue is atmospheric deposition falling out of the sky directly onto the lagoon. The green is in stormwater discharges. The brown around the bottom is from groundwater migration, and then the black is fluxing out of muck as it decays on the bottom of the lagoon. So we knew from measurements that groundwater was responsible for a significant part of the nutrient load to the lagoon. What we didn't know was how much of that groundwater problem was from septic systems. So we used the data from St. Lucie and Martin counties to estimate how much loading from septic systems is occurring in Brevard. And in this table, you see the systems within 55 yards or 50 meters of the lagoon were estimated to account for over 400,000 pounds of nitrogen pollution per year, whereas systems at the bottom of the table, 219 yards or 220 meters from the lagoon, collectively 18,000 systems account for only 10 pounds of nitrogen pollution. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to identify where are those systems that are having the greatest impact on the lagoon, where are the systems that are having very little impact on the lagoon, and how can we form an ordinance that would address the ones that are the most problematic but not create additional requirements for those that are not problematic. The red number in the bottom row is the cost if we were to retrofit all of the existing systems with an upgraded 65% nutrient reducing septic system. The total there is $1.2 billion. If we were to hook these systems up to wastewater treatment, this would be double this number, $2.3 to $3 billion. So obviously, we don't have the funds available to address all of this problem. We have to prioritize. So looking at that pie chart a different way, as a bar chart, you see that the largest, by far the largest source of nutrients in the water column in the lagoon today is from the decomposition of muck. The very next highest loading is coming from septic systems based on the St. Lucie and Martin County studies. If we recognize that muck flux is predominantly from a legacy load, decades of not controlling our wastewater treatment discharges, of directly discharging to the lagoon, of not treating our stormwater, of not requiring development to treat its stormwater on site. That's where, muck has come from over the decades. If we take that out of the equation and just look at where is the modern day pollution coming from, septic systems are the largest source at almost a third of the incoming load. So we wanted to understand which septic tanks are responsible for the majority of the problem. So our purpose was to limit pollution from septic systems while also minimizing the area of impact and cost for compliance with a new ordinance. And we did this through a spatial analysis, dividing the county into 10-meter wide slivers back from the edge of the water and using a state-approved model for septic impact. So just graphically, here's a map of a whole bunch of canals on Merritt Island and different distances, coded different colors, so you can see how septic systems located in these different color buffer areas, each were modeled and identified, how much loading they were responsible for. So each of these dots is a septic system, and the rainbow colors are the plumes of nutrients that are emanating from those septic systems. We modeled over half of the septic systems in Brevard, over 27,000 septic systems, and then summarized the data by distance from the water. Unfortunately, the state's model for septic systems can't handle more than about 2,000 septic tanks at a time. And since we have over 60,000 septic tanks in Brevard County that drain towards the lagoon, we had to divide the county up into a whole bunch of different work areas and then only model about half of the septic systems randomly distributed across each of those work areas. And so this was just a step in the process to get to our end goal of modeling the entire county. But at this intermediate step, I said, well, I want to see what the results look like. And so this graph, each of those lines is one of the 16 different work areas, and it represents across the bottom x-axis is distance from the water body, and up the y-axis is the percent of the total load that is captured at each of those distances. So as you go further from the water and count all of the septic systems along the way, you're capturing a greater and greater percent of the total load from all septic systems in that work area. And you see that these curves are all very different. There's a lot of variety in the county. And so how do you set one regulatory structure when you have this much variation in the county? So we struggled to tease out what makes the highest curves one way and the lowest curves another way, and how best can we parse this out. What we found was that the thing that made the greatest difference was the type of soil. And so these are just some pie charts of how the soil changes from one part of the county to another. And you see there's tremendous variation. So when trying to parse out all of those curves and all of the soil data, we divided the county into 4 regions, with each of those regions having a different story. And I'm going to walk you through those stories very quickly. So starting with the Barrier Island, you see that this is a soils map, and the bright yellow soils are the ones that are the sandiest soils that conduct water the fastest, that carry nutrients the fastest. There's very little time for treatment in those soils, and so almost all of those nutrients just go straight to the ocean or the lagoon. So when we look at the conductance value in these soils out different distances from the water, from the edge of the water, you can see that as far out as 125 meters from the water's edge, individual systems are still on average contributing over 5 pounds apiece. So we mapped the A soils, these very porous soils, along with floodplain and a 125-meter buffer. And in this map, you see that it covered nearly the entire Barrier Island. So this upheld the board's prior recommendation in the moratorium, or adoption in the moratorium, that the entire Barrier Island should be included in a regulatory overlay. For Merritt Island, this is the soils map. You see that these soil colors aren't quite as bright yellow. They're a little darker. So there are ridges of highly porous soil. There are also troughs of soil that do not conduct water or nutrients or septic effluent very far. And so those nutrient loads would be treated in that soil, except that when you look at where the floodplains are in Merritt Island, they line up with those soils that would otherwise treat. And so during dry conditions, those poor soils would treat septic, but during floods, all of that septic is going to float up. And so not only do we have a nutrient problem, we have a pathogen problem. And so, from a public safety perspective, you want to regulate not just the highly porous soils, but also the floodplain. We did our same distance analysis here, and you see that out to 90 meters, the individual septic tanks on average are contributing over 5 pounds. So if you overlay all 3 of those things together, the highly sandy soils, the floodplain, and then a 90-meter buffer, it covers nearly the entire expanse of Merritt Island. And so again, this supports the board's prior direction to include all of Merritt Island in a septic overlay. Next, we noticed that the curves at the top of that weird graph that had the 16 lines, a lot of them fell within the Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District. So we took a look at this area specifically. It's a large watershed, and it happens to contain a very high density of septic tanks. Over half of the septic tanks in Brevard are located inside the Melbourne-Tillman watershed. And so if we take those 16 graphs, 16 lines, and we roll them up into these 4 distinct areas, the Barrier Island, Merritt Island, Melbourne-Tillman, and then the rest of the county, that top line, the yellow line, is Melbourne-Tillman, and you see how different that is from the rest of the county. So when we look at a graph of the septic loading by distance for Melbourne-Tillman, you see that when you get out to 40 meters, all of a sudden there's a slope break, and beyond that distance, you're seeing diminishing returns in terms of nutrient load intercepted by a more expensive septic system. So we proposed 40 meters, which is about 130 feet, as the overlay width within Melbourne-Tillman. Moving to the mainland, you see the shape of this curve. The break in the slope is right there at 60 meters. Beyond that, you see a dip. And what that dip is a higher percentage of soils at those distance classes that are those low conductance soils that that treat septic in place. And those are primarily outside of floodplains, so they don't have the same concerns as Merritt Island. So in this case, we propose 60 meters as the overlay for the rest of the mainland of the county. So for ordinance development, we had to make sure that it was written in such a way that it didn't conflict with state rules. Everything that is in this ordinance can run concurrently with state rules. It's a science-based approach to defining the overlay and the criteria in the ordinance designed to maximize lagoon pollution while minimizing unintended consequences and costs to other homeowners. We added a requirement for everyone in the overlay installing one of these new systems to record a notice in the property records so that future owners of that property will know that they have a specialized system that requires some sort of specialized operation and maintenance care or specialized Department of Health permitting every other year. We had a number of people contact us concerned that they purchased a property not knowing that they had a special system, then they got in trouble with permitting, or the system backed up because they weren't maintaining it properly. So this would be a way for future owners to know what they were buying. We maintain the May 22nd effective date of the moratorium. Everything that was permitted by the Department of Health prior to May 22nd or permitted by a city or county building department prior to May 22nd, an approved site plan, or a contract with a home builder prior to May 22nd. All of those would be exempt from this ordinance as they were exempt from the moratorium. Repairs are also exempt. That's consistent with the state rules that repairs are exempt. If a septic system is failing, you want it fixed, and you don't want to create a disincentive for that with requiring repairs to upgrade to a more expensive system. New and remodels would have to meet the 65% nitrogen reduction targets. We added 2 exemptions. So properties that are expected to be hooked up to sewer, to have sewer service brought to them within the time frame of the Save Our Indian River Lagoon plan, if it's a project that's in that plan, that's funded in that plan. If they do not want to put in the more expensive, higher performing septic system, they can sign a contract with the county that says they are claiming this exemption with the understanding that once sewer is available to them, brought to their property, they will have 180 days to hook up. We also added an exemption to clarify that it's not the entire parcel that has to be in or out of the overlay, as long as they can locate the septic system, the tank and drain field, outside of the overlay, then they could go with the standard conventional system. It's only if the system is going to be within that overlay distance that it would need to be the higher performing system. Like the board did with the moratorium, this would be a countywide ordinance. The county's charter allows for enforcement of a countywide ordinance. Municipalities can enact a separate ordinance to specifically opt out of the county's ordinance. Otherwise, this would apply within the cities. So in summary, the ordinance includes all of the Barrier Island, all of Merritt Island, a 40-meter buffer within Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District, and a 60-meter buffer for the remaining of the mainland. So before you in your agenda packet today is a requested action on the ordinance. The 2 prior public hearings with your advisory boards, the Building Contractors Advisory Committee proposed 2 motions, each failed. One was requiring that the 65% nitrogen reduction apply everywhere, the entire county, no overlay, just the entire county. There were 4 members present for the vote, and so that motion failed 2-2. A second motion was made for recommending the staff draft. That also failed 2-2. The local planning agency then met, and they considered similar motions. So the first motion to require the 65% nitrogen reduction countywide, that failed for lack of a second. The motion proposing the staff draft was approved 7-1, recommending that to you to consider this evening. Then we also would like you to consider providing staff legislative intent to address outdated, remnant, and duplicative septic code located throughout 3 chapters of the county code. Chapter 46 on the environment, Chapter 62 concurrency, and Chapter 110 utilities all contain, we found about 40 pages of code related to septic tanks, much of which is duplicative with state regulation or completely out of date and needs to be cleaned up, but we wanted your direction to do that. And then during the moratorium discussion, there were questions about low income and how this might affect low-income families and what we could do about that. We have met with Housing and Human Services to talk about what sort of grant programs they have for housing and how we might coordinate with them. We came up with the idea of providing grants through their programs to low-income applicants who qualify for assistance through their program, that we would, using half-cent sales tax dollars, provide the delta cost between a conventional system and the advanced system required by this ordinance. We could do that initially at the $4,000 delta, and then we could reduce that over the next 8 years so that by the time the half-cent sales tax sunsets, folks would be used to that increased cost of compliance. If we were to do that at $4,000 a year for the first 2 years, $3,000 for the next 2 years, $2,000 apiece for the following 2 years, and then $1,000 for years 7 and 8, that would sum to about a $1.2 million expense. And that's our request this evening. Thank you.
Commissioners, our lights are not working this evening. Is that Commissioner Barfield wanted to speak?
The one.
Commissioner Isnardi, you asked me before we started. Did you want to go first?
If I could. I tried to press my light, but our lights aren't working. I was hoping, and I'm not opposed, I actually think that maybe we could do a little bit more with this. I was hoping this would be during a regular meeting because not a lot of people will check the public or the budget hearing for the information. So people are saying, oh my gosh, the septic things, and they wanted to come and speak on it. But my question to you, and that's obviously something I would hate to put you through the exercise again of having to present all that important information, but the first thing I noticed in this report was, and this is something I've believed all along, and you don't even have to completely be as much of a scientist as some of you folks are, but the Melbourne-Tillman in the South County and the impact of the septic systems down there. I'm interested to find out what the discussion was in regards, and this may not be a very popular opinion, but what was the discussion, in your groups and in your hearings in regards to a countywide ordinance? Because I look at this like it could be very difficult to look at overlay and how close are you, I could just even think about it in the South County, how difficult it would be, even as a builder or developer who probably wouldn't like it to be a countywide ordinance, but how I can't imagine trying to mull through and calling staff and the staff time it would take to sort through, having to search up addresses and to figure out, it's easy to pull up a map, but the layperson building or buying may not know, but I don't really know that the difference in the upgraded system, especially with the new state options, would be significant enough to discourage. That's what I'm guessing. That's why I suggest, if everything has an impact ultimately on the lagoon and in turn our drinking water and everything else, I'll just get back to it. What was the discussion on the countywide? Was there a lot of pushback with that, or is that overreach?
I was in the BCAC, it was a 2-2 vote. In the local planning agency, that motion failed for lack of a second. So The discussion was that it would be simpler for people to understand what the requirements were if it was one requirement countywide. And another statement was that while the NSF 245 ATUs have been around and available for quite some time, there hasn't been a very large market for them. With Brevard County and the spring sheds in Central Florida all moving towards this 65% nitrogen reduction standard, there's going to be a much larger market for them. And so the cost for that technology may come down significantly as that demand goes up and there's more competition. There are a lot more systems out there that have documentation that they can meet the 65% reduction. They just haven't gone through the testing in Florida to demonstrate that. And so those systems will probably be the first to add to the competition. And then, like you said, the new state rule for the in-ground systems, those are new, but probably the cost on those will go down as experience happens in constructing those. So, you know, it's a balancing act of how simple you want regulation to be versus how many people you want to impact with that cost of compliance if they are not contributing significantly to pollution in the lagoon.
Right, or maybe there's a second option for the ones that aren't in that 50 meter. I don't know what the right answer is. I just know that everything has an impact on it, and everyone is telling us we need to do something, so we want to do as much as we can without putting the burden. I guess it's a balancing act, but thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Barfield.
I want to speak after the speakers, after public comment.
Certainly, sir. Commissioner Tabaya?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And first of all, I want to thank you, Ms. Barker, for your hard work under such strict time constraints. I think the work product here was good not only under the 150 days. I think had you had longer, it was still much better than certainly what I had expected. And I commend you and your office for putting together such a great work product. You did mention in there were some assumptions, and I appreciate that. I did have a couple questions, though. While this is the best information that you have under the parameters that we set up, you acknowledge that you're going to continue to improve on this as time goes forward. Is that correct?
Yes. Back in June, we started 18 months of monthly groundwater sampling, and that data will be very useful for calibrating the state's model for use in this area so that we could fine-tune all of the analysis that was just done. We could do a finer-tuned version of that in 24 months from now when we have 18 months of groundwater monitoring data.
Follow-up, Madam Chair.
Oh, it's your floor, sir.
Thank you. Again, I appreciate that. As we hammer down a little bit more, we will have even better data to make substantive decisions. So you expect us to have, slightly more accurate analysis, as you put in here, in the next, you said 2 years you expect?
Right. We have 15, 16 more months of data collection. Then there'll be a few months of analysis and report writing. And then to use it for this purpose, we would need to go through several months of the same analytical process that we just undertook. So it would be about 2 years before we would be able to come back to you with a refined version. I would not expect the shape of those curves to change. I would expect the entire curve to go up, maybe down, but probably up. And so, if you're comfortable with the slope break analysis, then I wouldn't expect the buffer widths to change. But if you want something, based more on total load, absolute load, then we will have much better information in 2 years.
Madam Chair?
Please, sir.
Thank you. When we're done, I would like to have a motion. I've just passed out an amendment to the ordinance. If you turn over to the back, it's section 11 that I've added. In light of Director Barker saying that we shall have better, more accurate information here within the next 2 years, I put a sunset provision on this for 30 months, which would meet the time constraints of the 2 years that Director Barker could get back to us with more information, and we can take action at that point with the better data. So I would move to adopt the ordinance once everyone's spoken with the sunset provision in 30 months, Madam Chair. And that is the only change, Section 11, to this ordinance. Again, Director Barker, thank you for all your hard work and dedication on this.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to have comments. Mr. John Windsor.
Good evening, Commissioners. John Windsor, Melbourne, Florida. I've been working on Indian River Lagoon preservation and restoration for more than 3 decades now. It's getting close to 4 decades. I was debating on whether I should say more than 3 or less than 4, but you got the idea. I currently serve on the Citizens Oversight Committee for the Save Our Indian River Lagoon Plan, and I want to let you know I strongly support the ordinance as it's been presented. As Ms. Barker pointed out, we had $68 million in the plan for septic tank improvements and removal. It doesn't make sense to me to keep adding new septic tanks in the area where we're taking septic tanks out. It's defeating our purpose. I think passing this ordinance would be another positive step that Brevard County is taking to restore the Indian River Lagoon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Waters? And Gail Meredith, you'll be next, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioners, for the initial moratorium and for considering this ordinance going forward. I'm Marilyn Waters. I live in Melbourne, Florida, and I've talked to you about this several times before. And I'm just going to express the fact that the Brevard Indian River Lagoon Coalition Board unanimously endorses passage of this for a lot of the reasons that Dr. Windsor just put out. When we have upwards of 60,000 septic tanks, many of which were before 1980 when the standards were put in place, and the fact that this contributes 19% of the nutrients into the lagoon, then there's something wrong. We need, especially when we can take care of that in this way. It's crazy that the Department of Health can approve 800 new septic tanks that can be conventional systems while we're all struggling with this and spending so much money to try to clean up the lagoon. And so I just want to encourage you to take this seriously. It's great to see the amount of research and science that has gone into this even in the past 150 days, that it seems obvious to me that this makes sense to do this. And we were present at the environmental group that the department held, and we support strongly the opportunity to help folks who could not pay for this on their own. And there are other third parties out there who do these kind of grants, so it wouldn't necessarily take money away from the county to do that. So thank you, and we hope that you'll support this.
Thank you. Ms. Meredith, Alex Gorchetsky, you'll be next, sir.
Gail Meredith from Satellite Beach and the Brevard Indian River Lagoon Coalition. I just wanted to thank you all, Commissioners, for doing this. We all know that we need to do as much as we can, and this is at least a good first step. I'm not sure what Commissioner Tobias meant by the sunset, the 30-month sunset or whatever, but I would be concerned about that. Thank you very much. This will be great.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Gorchecki, Lou Kotnick.
We'll get there eventually.
Thank you. Mr. Kotnick, you'll be next, please.
My name's Captain Alex Gorichki. I've lived on Merritt Island in Brevard County my entire life. Oddly enough, I stood in front of this board with actually the 2 members that are still left here and said this is a multi-billion-dollar problem and decades to fix. And if you're not ready to get down to the work, it's time to go somewhere else. Obviously, with the numbers she just showed you, it's a multi-billion-dollar problem. We have to get even more serious. There's no reason we shouldn't make this county-wide. There's no reason we shouldn't move as aggressively as we can to get the ones that are put in the ground before 1980 out of the ground, to get people on sewer. I don't care if we got to put more money on my taxes. I don't care if we got to put more money on everybody's taxes. It has to get done. People are extremely frustrated right now. Not only businesses, not only residents, but tourism is starting to be affected extremely bad in all of our different seasons. Basically, at this point in time, you saw it. It's about as disgusting as it gets. How are you supposed to put a person in a boat with water splashing in their face when the Natural Resources Director just wondered if it's not actually contaminated with human feces from the amount of septic runoff we have? It's time to get serious about it. It's time to get everybody on sewage. It's time to get all of our plants up to snuff. It's time to make sure that we're doing right by this lagoon. Because at this point in time, though we're doing a good job and we're getting started, we're nowhere near where we need to be to really treat this as the problem that it is. We're still putting Band-Aids on it. Where did this moratorium come from? It didn't magically come out of thin air. It came out of us standing in this room in May and going, why are we still putting septic tanks in the ground while we're fighting this problem, while we're in this situation? Brown tide is not going anywhere. It will be here when I die. I'm not going anywhere. You guys need to take a look at what has happened in other states, particularly in Laguna Madre and Baffin Bay, where they've been fighting brown tide for 30 years. Go out there and take a drive over the Banana River any day of the year at this point in time. It is the brownest brown you've ever seen. It isn't going away, and it hasn't gone away. So unless we truly buckle down, we make things like this county-wide, we take the big steps to do what's necessary to renew what we had at one point in time, which was flow. There's another thing that I want to kind of get at. Everybody wants to talk about inlets and stuff like that. I want Brevard County, all 5 of you, to stand up to the FDOT and to any other road construction that says, and make another ordinance that says any and all road construction must take into consideration the flow of the lagoon. Each one of these causeways is destroying our lagoon, and we have an opportunity with 528. Don't miss it.
Thank you. Mr. Kotnick and Mr. Rosenfeld, you'll be next, sir.
Hi. Thank you very much. Lou Kotnick. I live here in Melbourne. And I really wanted to say one basic thing, and that is, Yahoo! 6 months ago, we were in a position of knowing that 18% of the nutrients causing the problems in the lagoon was from septics, but we couldn't do anything about it, and we continued to permit 800 a year. Then you stepped up on the temporary moratorium. Way to go. We got an amazing analysis and now a tremendous proposal. So we stand at the edge of taking the first really concrete step on this issue that's going into the future. Well, I guess there are 2 messages. And the second one is, do it, let's make it unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rosenfeld, Elizabeth Baker, you'll be next, ma'am.
My name is George Rosenfield. I live in Suntree. I am an environmental scientist, retired. I was supposed to go to Duke University, where Virginia got her master's for mine, but I went to New York State College of Forestry, and boy, what a forestry profs at UMass mad at me. Anyway, I have some comments to make. 65 million years ago, when a caveman was chasing a dinosaur and felt the urge, He barely had to stop running. He wasn't wearing pants anyway. In World War II, a soldier had an entrenching tool and dug a small hole in the ground when he had the urge. When earlier people lived in communities, they dug a large hole in the backyard, built a seat over it, shelter around it, called it an outhouse. It accumulated too fast and deep for a family. Then someone had the idea to dig outgoing fan-like trenches, install a perforated pipe, and pour water into the large hole to flush it. Then someone recently said, let's put Clorox in the water and call it the new septic system. When I first came to Brevard County in January 4, 1957, middle of the 20th century, I bought a home in Sea Park on the beach adjacent to tailor-made homes. It became South Patrick Shore. Jack Taylor and the Sea Park developer from Boston, Mass. both came from a civilized area and wouldn't have it any other way. So together, they built their own sewage treatment plant and installed sewer pipes and indoor flush toilets just like at home. Now it's the 21st century. We are still not requiring civilized sewage disposal and treatment here in Brevard County. The time is now. Let the developers pay an impact fee before issuing a license and permit. It should be large enough to cover the roads and drainage, police and firemen, and sewer pipes and treatment plants. Most that I can say about the septic systems, even the better ones that are being considered this meeting, is that it is better than an outhouse or a small hole in the ground. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure, sir. Ms. Baker and Suzanne Cummings, you'll be next, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Baker. I live in Merritt Island. I'm absolutely in support of this, but I'm with the captain. It's not enough. It's not enough at all. Even though this definitely has an impact, we're using all of these nice words like dilution and nitrogen. The real fact is that what's coming out of these septic tanks is human waste. We know the EPA absolutely says the #1 cause of pollution is a mismanagement of waste, whether it's excretion from our bodies or litter. Even though we're making these steps, these are Band-Aids. And 65% sounds really, really great when we're looking at the numbers that we have, but we need to go even further than that. So whatever it costs, whatever it takes, whatever this county needs to do, whatever you guys need to do, whatever we need to do as citizens, we have to clean this up. I had an infant, newborn, dead baby manatee in my canal 3 weeks ago with its umbilical cord still wrapped around it. You can't see to the bottom of a 3-foot canal. It looks the same color as this panel here. It didn't used to be like that. I'm not a native, but I've been coming here since I was 5 years old. I remember what these waters looked like in 1982. We can bring it back, and we really have to do everything we can, no matter what the cost. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Cummings and Mary Spar, you'll be next, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Suzanne Cummins, I live in Rock Ledge, Florida. I'm here, work for the Home Builders and Contractors Association of Brevard. And we understand that there is a direct relationship between the land use, water quality, and human health. And as members of the association, we want to see the steps taken to make our waterways healthy and safe. But like all industries, there are some concerns. One of the major concerns is affordability. Any additional installation of equipment, materials, maintenance of that equipment and materials adds to the final product cost. That final product cost in this case is the home. I believe that it's been reported that the new ordinance is estimated additional cost to the homeowner of upwards to $10,000 added to that bottom line of the price of the home. So just think about this for a moment. For every $1,000 added to the price of a home, an estimated of over 100 people are priced out of the housing market. So with that, again, we support the efforts to clean up our waterways and protect our lagoon, and we support local government and your actions, and we appreciate all that you do. But we ask that viable, affordable options are available and provided for the homeowners and contractors to choose from, as well as considering that additional cost to the bottom line of new home construction. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Mary Spar?
Mary Spar. I'm speaking for Turtle Coast Sierra Club. Sierra Club strongly supports this ordinance to improve the higher septic standards to protect the Indian River Lagoon. We're very pleased that the ordinance is based on the best available data, analysis, and science. And this ordinance is a significant step forward. You're also being asked for permission to update code in Chapter 46, Chapter 62, and 110. And this is an excellent opportunity to consider what else besides this ordinance can be done to update septic tank rules. In particular, Brevard County still allows entire new subdivisions on septic tank. For example, you're going to be considering a North Merritt Island rezoning of agricultural land to be an entire new subdivision on septic. I believe it's October 4th. So what I'd like you to do is please ask staff to find out and report back to you whether any municipalities still allow entire new subdivisions on septic tank, and if so, under what conditions. I mean, have they actually considered any in the past few years, or is it just the county that does this? This shouldn't take a lot of time. For staff, maybe a couple weeks. And after you get that information, you can decide if you still want to allow entire new subdivisions on septic, particularly in areas like North Merritt Island. You may want to change the code as part of the update that you're being asked to give legislative intent for. So in conclusion, Sierra Club asks you to approve the septic ordinance and also get the information from the municipalities on whether they allow entire new subdivisions on septic. We should all be doing whatever we can to improve the health of the Indian River Lagoon, and we thank you for the positive steps you are taking.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, that's the end of the comment cards. I'll close public comment. And Commissioner Barfield, as promised, sir, you have the floor.
I appreciate all y'all being here. It's very important to me, and it's very important to our county and what we're doing. When we started, it was only from this commission, Commissioner Smith and myself were here back in 2014. And I thought it'd be good to give a little bit of history of what has happened from this board standpoint since I got here and Commissioner Smith. Now, one of the reasons I ran for this office was to push for a long-term plan and funding to restore the Indian River Lagoon. Restore it to what I remember as a kid. I've lived here since 1962. And I've worked on large-scale environmental remediation projects. I've got an environmental background, and I fully understood and still understand what's at stake and what is needed. Prior to my election, the County Commission took various actions on the lagoon. They passed an ordinance banning fertilizer use during the rainy season. In addition, the County Commission approved utilities and bonding for $134 million for upgrades for sewer infrastructure. But since being elected, there have been many, many challenges to impact our lagoon. Some we've avoided, some we haven't. But soon after getting elected, many of y'all remember this, the port announced their plans for a cargo rail right through Banana River, up through North Merritt Island, and then up to the the Merritt Island Wildlife Preserve. Well, I opposed it, as y'all did. I opposed the cargo rail plans and pushed to run the rail up to CCA, Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, if they were going to do it at all. I brought forward a resolution to this county commission at the time opposing the port's plans and to recommend that the port explore going through an alternative, going to Cape Canaveral Air Force Station or not doing it at all. And out of that, a lot of things happened. I think you all remember. The port CEO was replaced and the rail project was abandoned. And that was good news. We could imagine what that would do also to the lagoon. And at the time, the Banana River was in decent shape, but what would it have done? Well, we all know in March of 2016, we experienced the largest fish kill ever in the Indian River Lagoon. Again, I grew up near the river and I've lived here 56 years, and I've never seen anything like that in my life. The public outcry was well justified. Prior to the fish kill, we had received funding for specific projects from the state. And in my opinion, this was probably had a lot to do with Steve Crisafulli as our Speaker of the House, as a Merritt Island resident. But the problem was the funding was never guaranteed and had to be requested each year. We had no way to control our own destiny. We had no way to have consistent funding coming in yearly, 1 year after the next. We'd go years without any funding. There was really no way to develop a cohesive plan and schedule to restore the lagoon because there was no sustainable funding source. A continuing funding source was needed so that permits could be obtained in advance and crews could mobilize just once and go from one project to the next, expediting the remediation. The funding needed to address multiple aspects of what got us into this situation, such as septic tanks and the runoff and the muck removal, shoreline restoration, on and on it goes. Commissioner Smith and myself both worked to get permitting expedited. We went to Washington, D.C., Kirk, how many times? A couple times? 3 times?
Yeah, 3 times.
Then we worked on it down here because we had various different federal permits that were holding up the state permits, and we had to do what we could to get that straightened out, and we did get that better. But on April 7th, 2016, I proposed that we look at a new taxing options to put on the ballot to provide a continuous funding source. And needless to say, there were those that tried to rake me over the coals for it because all I wanted to do is raise taxes. Well, that's not true. This is such a big issue. We want everyone in this community to take part in it and put it on the ballot and vote for it. But the caveat, the commission had to put it on the ballot, but the caveat that we said at the time, and Kurt remembers this, we won't put it on the ballot unless we have a strict plan, a project plan in place of what you're going to do and what's it going to cost. If that didn't exist, we weren't going to do it. The other thing was this, we needed to have an advisory board to independently look at all this and make sure that we're doing what we should do. And I have to say, the project plan, y'all have probably seen it, that Virginia Barker and her group put together was awesome. And the time frame they got that done, it was amazing. And so from there, we got it on the ballot. We selected, there was property tax or half-cent sales tax, and we went with half-cent sales tax because it was much fairer, and also the people who use the lagoon, such as tourists or whatever, they were paying into that, and the sales tax was selected. So on August 24, 2016, the Save Our Lagoon project plan was presented to this commission at the time. The commission approved the ballot language and voted to place the question on the November 8 ballot. As you all know, from then until the election, Commissioner Smith, myself, Virginia Barker and her group, we participated in I don't know how many different meetings, giving information, what we're going to do, how is it going to work, all those times doing that. Plus we were working the permitting issues too, doing a lot of that. Many weeks, there was 4 to 5 nights we were dedicated to these meetings. So on November 8, 2016, as we all know, 62% of the voters voted in favor to tax themselves, and it went into effect. Over $40 million is being generated a year for the lagoon, and we are working right now to save our lagoon. So it is now's the time to go to the next stage. It's now time to legislatively address the problems that are still contributing to the overall nitrogen load on the lagoon. And I'm with George there. How, since man was created, we bury our waste and we poop in the ground. I mean, come on, seriously. Don't you think we could get somewhere better by then, by now? I could have said something else, but, well, I would get reelected, so now's the time. Septic tanks are a major nitrogen source, contributing, as we've heard, almost 19% of the nitrogen level. But it's a continual process. It's still in place. Septic tanks need to be converted to sewer wherever possible. We're working on that. It can't be done overnight. None of this can be done overnight. And it's nothing more frustrating than what happens to the bureaucracy we have to put up with. It is frustrating. But we need to convert sewer wherever possible. In my district, I've fought against zoning changes to increase density for developers, especially like was spoken earlier about the issue with North Merritt Island. Development wants to go in with to put septic tanks in. Well, he's asking for a zoning change so he can have more homes in there. Well, my approach is this: we don't need to. If you can put one septic tank on 1 acre, or is it 2.5 acre by law now, we can't really change that. But we can prevent increasing the density. So meanwhile, what we do is we force them to say, listen, sewer is about a mile away. If you want to run the sewer there, go for it. If you're not, we're not doing a zoning change. And that's how we have to work it, and that's what we've been doing. What I really would like to do is ban septic tanks altogether, but this lady down here would not let me do it. By law, we can't do that. But we can require the high-efficiency septic tanks, and that's very important. So last May, I proposed a 150-day moratorium. I wanted to do more than that, but our legal staff protecting us, which I'm glad they do, said we can only do like a 150-day moratorium. And that allowed us time to go for Virginia and her group to go do that study. And what they've come up with, I think, is very sound with what we have. I know that Commissioner Tobias was talking about how let's put a sunset on it. Well, we can always change the ordinance. We can change it as we get more data. I don't know that we have to sunset it. But the moratorium was to allow the research and come up with more comprehensive, scientifically based information for this ordinance. So now we have this ordinance, this final ordinance, and we have the agenda item here. And I can't be more happy where we have this, because it sets a standard for where we're going. Is it everything? No. But does it help? Yes. It makes a statement, and we have to make sure that we draw the line, and we're going to have to make changes that are going to affect the future that are good. So it's just important to note that this is not going to correct our past sins, but will help the future, and that's what we have to think about. The LPA recommended approval. I think that's very sound advice. So, Madam Chair, I'd like to go ahead and make the motion that the items 1, 2, and 3 be approved. So, that's my motion.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor, and I have no ability to have lights, so if you want to speak, you're going to have to let me know.
Do you want to talk?
Madam.
Okay, Commissioner Tobias, Commissioner Smith, you'll be next, sir.
Well, first of all, I'd like to have an opportunity to discuss namely 3, so we could hopefully do different motions on 1, 2, and 3 instead of doing them all together. That would be advisable. Hopefully advisable. But the motion that I have on the table is merely a sunset. We're putting a specific burden, a specific and measurable burden on individuals that are moving in. This would level some consistency, and there's nothing to say that the restrictions, clearly the citizens have discussed putting restrictions countywide. So there's nothing to say that if we sunset this, we can't affect it countywide instead of limiting it. So I'm not advocating going in one direction. I'm just advocating that wait until we get some better data, and let's look at it at that point. And that's all a sunset does. It's specific, it's defined, and since there's a tangible, measurable burden on any individual that decides to build. That's the point of the sunset. So if I don't get a second on, just to be very clear, I still will be voting for this. However, I just think it's advisable and sets up a precaution, as we move forward.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Smith?
Most of what I wanted to say would be redundant to what Commissioner Barfield said, but I just want to reiterate the fact that this is a tremendous step. He and I were thinking along the same lines back in May because I had a homeowner on my street, and I live on the Indian River Lagoon, that was getting a new septic system in, and they live on a postage-size stamp property. And I knew they couldn't be putting in a bigger system because the house took up most of the property. So I asked the county health department, which for those of you that don't know, they're not part of the county. They just happen to be a state agency in Brevard County. And they informed me that there wasn't much that they could do because they weren't capable of making the person put a bigger system in because the lot wouldn't allow it. And they couldn't make the guy move, so they had to just do the best they could. And I asked them point blank, could you not require them to put an advanced treatment unit in to make that system better? And they said that's not within our purview. That stunned me, to be quite frank. So I spoke to Eden, our county attorney, and I said, is there any way that we can do this? And she said there was. So Commissioner Barfield, he charged ahead, and we now have this before us. So I think this is a great first step. As he pointed out, this isn't the be-all and end-all, but I think it gets us moving in the right direction. As for Mr. Tobias' sunset, I'm big on sunsets, particularly when it comes to taxation, because I want a sunset there so that we can look at it and say this is worthwhile, let's do it, continue it, let's renew it. But Mr. Tobias, you want to explain to me how this benefits this ordinance moving forward?
Madam Chair.
If you'd like, sir.
Thank you. And I think you bring up a very good point. It brings it up a deadline for discussion. So I don't want to put this into an ordinance and forget about it. If there's a deadline coming up, a sunset, we're guaranteed to talk about this in 2.5 years. So I think it's very important to keeping this in the limelight. We will have to deal with this one way or another. And to be very clear, as I mentioned before, but probably didn't do it so articulately, there's discussion out here that we extend this countywide. Once we get more data, if the data backs it up in a way that we have right here, I would be the first person to support that countywide. But that will guarantee that at a certain date we have this discussion and as we move forward. So please don't make any mistake that I'm trying to pull back on a regulation. I just want to keep it in the limelight and potentially expand it if we have the data that Virginia, Ms. Barker would have gotten us had we given her more time. Again, it's amazing the amount of information that she gathered. She did a wonderful job with this presentation, and I look forward to looking at the impacts on the areas that we just didn't have the time to investigate.
You good?
Yeah, I would like to, after Commissioner Zanardi speaks, I'd like to hear Mr. Barfield's thoughts on this topic also.
I'm not opposed to the sunset, only because maybe it's because I've been in government too long, and I don't even doubt for a second that our staff will be on top of it and giving us that information. But I think again, and you took the words, actually, Commissioner Smith, you said it first, because it's a check and a balance, and it's us. It's very easy for us to renew. It's very easy for us to modify, but it's almost a reminder that we do need to look at it again if we don't. You know what I'm saying? If we don't, but there's no threat that it's just going to go away. But it takes the political pressure off of it too. You know what I mean? If we decide that that's not the way we're going to go, or we decide to go countywide, this goes away anyhow, because now we've changed it entirely, and then the sunset goes away. I don't mind the sunset, especially with such a big ordinance such as this. I'm in support of this 110%. That's why I did even inquire about the county. Why? Because I thought, if anything that we can do to benefit the lagoon, we all have to do our part. And so maybe that's something we can look at, because you can't tell me with the Melbourne-Tillman and their 300 miles of drainage doesn't impact with all those septic systems down there. So that's something I want us to really look hard at over the next coming months. But I'm not opposed to the sunset, and I think, if anything, I think it shows that this commission gives and takes a little, all of us do, and we all get some of the things we want. But I think if we're all a part of the decisions that are made with this ordinance, and we all can vote in favor, I think it's a positive thing.
Miss Virginia, if we don't sunset it, we can still make changes. Can we just, if we put this through tonight, can we say in August of 2020, we want this brought back up for review with the new data you have, so we can start discussing tweaking the resolution?
I believe you can give that staff direction. I'm looking at the county attorney.
Okay, so if we do that, because my thought, I mean, I get the sunsets and stuff too, but this is a very emotional topic, and I don't want to send out the message that it's something that we're even going to be thinking about pulling back. I don't see that. And just, I'm thinking about this. If you're a homeowner and you're paying sewer, we're paying $60, $65 a month. And this, over 20 years, this is $17 to $10 more for this system. And, homeowners, their rates are going to go up, and this is just a set cost. So I think this is just responsible, and we're probably a little behind on doing it. So I think this is kind of a little bit minimal. I wouldn't have minded doing the other one, but I think it's a start. But I would like to do this, if we do this motion, sir, that we put into it that in August of 2020, we start reviewing it again, and then we can start making some changes with the new information you have coming in, because I don't want to cause harm to people that won't need a larger system either. So I think that would give you time to put something good together for us. Just my recommendation. So.
You have the floor.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask the question. Once a study is done, once you have all the data, there'll be a formal report of that, correct?
Yes.
So why can't we just say, once that report is complete, it has to be brought to the county commission?
Yes, you can direct.
Yeah.
That's up to the board.
Yeah. So
They can direct that.
So it would come before the county commission, and you would have recommendations compared to what is already in the ordinance, and recommend any changes based on that data.
So we could make it better and we wouldn't have to wait 2 years. Works for me.
She just said she needed a year and a half, so I thought I'd give her 2 months to get it to
Whatever
you.
it takes. I don't put a date on it, it's when it gets done.
I was actually saying put it on the agenda in August for sure, so that we don't have the chance, like Commissioner Isnardi and Tobias said, of it slipping. I don't want it to slip either. So even if she didn't have the report ready,
I'm still going to be here, so it's not going to slip
Yeah.
by.
Well, I don't know, you start forgetting things
I'll
from
be
time
out
to time.
So,
You can remind me then.
well, either way, I mean, it doesn't, I just want to make sure, because it could go either way. The data could show that it's not stringent enough. It could say that we're overkilling or whatever. So it's just that data, and it's not just getting the data. They've got to crank the numbers, and they got to do their statistical analysis on it, do all the other stuff to make sure it's real data. Correct? Yeah, so I would just like to, I like the motion to stand as it is, and that, is it considered a sunset when we say he has to come back again?
No.
No.
Okay.
I would interpret sunset as terminate.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I want to do then, and say August of
2020.
2020.
Or sooner.
Or sooner, whenever the data is available and you have a firm understanding of that data, it comes back to the county commission.
Thank you. Commissioners, I have no lights, so you're going to have to, Commissioner Tobias, are you trying to give me a light?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Madam Chair, I think we're going at this the exact same way, and I've got a great deal of respect, not only for Commissioner Barfield coming back here and reminding us, should we, should we do it, or Virginia, Ms. Barker, doing that for us. So with your indulgence, I'd like to pull my sunset motion, as
Yes,
I
sir.
think we'll achieve the exact same result should we go with your solution on this.
I think everybody heard you, sir. Okay, so is that your motion, sir?
Yes.
Okay, I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Do you need a repeat of the motion, clerk's office? Okay, Commissioner Barfield, I thought you might.
Oh,
Well,
boy.
I think there was, if you'll indulge me a second, I think there was some confusion because Commissioner Barfield made a movement and says, I want to move to do this. Maybe he didn't use the word motion, and then Commissioner Barfield gave his long speech and
we
then
didn't
made his motion.
No,
So
we
I think-
didn't second a motion, so there really wasn't a motion. Commissioner Tobias still did, and he just came back.
I don't
and
think you
withdrew,
called
so-
for a second, though. I think it just went into discussion.
No, because you didn't have lights, but nobody seconded it, and y'all all started talking, so I just let you
Okay,
run.
I'm not going to argue about it.
We're having
But I think
technical
that's why
difficulties.
Commissioner Tobias was trying to pull it because he thought he made it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't think so.
Okay, so let me just start over.
Just make
I make a motion that we approve the ordinance as stated in item number 1. We approve legislative intent and permission to advertise as in number 2. And we approve 3 for the grant program for the Save Our Indian River Lagoon half-cent surtax. And in this motion, there will be on the agenda in August of 2020 that this will be reviewed again. And that all the data and reports from natural resources will be provided as soon as it's done. The report is final, and it'll come before this county commission to make any changes as deemed necessary.
Can I make a suggestion?
Say it again? You better not say that.
Well, I'm not going to say the whole thing again. I can't even remember my name some days. But I would suggest saying that on or before August 20th, whenever the report is finished by the Division of Natural Resources.
Sounds like a motion. Do I have a second?
Madam Chair,
Okay.
sorry.
Do you have a light?
No.
Okay.
Can we discuss action point number 3 first? Either pull it out and do them individually, or go with the discussion. I had some points on 3.
Okay, I'll amend it. It'll be just for point 1 and point 2 that we're voting on.
Okay, Commissioner Smith, does that hold, sir?
Works for me.
Okay, I have a motion on the table for item 1 and 2 with this different criteria. Commissioner Barfield added. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Commissioner Tobias, sir, your comments.
Starting, may I ask him some questions for Director Barker, with your indulgence?
I'm all ears, sir.
Thanks. Did we apply this same cost sharing of low-income residences with the INI for the program in Satellite Beach? Was there that qualification?
No.
So homes in Satellite Beach, and I looked some up, multi-million-dollar homes in Satellite Beach will have the ability to receive the Save Our Indian River Lagoon funds to help with the INI. Is that correct?
Yes.
Since we set a precedent on this that we'll use Save Our Indian River Lagoon funds for all houses, as all people will be paying into this, I would like to make a motion based on the precedent set by the board with the INI program in Satellite Beach, that we initiate a cost share program with all residents directly impacted by this ordinance using the Save Our Indian River Lagoon Fund to offset the compliance cost. I think that, again, that we treat one set of folks one way and another set is completely different, is not consistent, and so that I would be in favor of 3 if we were to take off the determination of the value of the home. So that would be my motion, Madam Chair.
You're lighting?
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Isnardi.
I'll second for discussion. And I had the same concern. That's why when we talked about it earlier, I thought we were going to vote on each one individually. And I wasn't going to reference Satellite Beach. I was just going to talk about, I know if if we did expand that, it would probably make that list a lot longer for people in conversion. So we would probably have to look at this as a smaller percentage if we want those dollars to go further. Or we need to increase the dollar amount. But obviously, it's up to the board on how we feel about that. But in order to hit the most amount of, of septic tanks to get them into compliance and to repair the ones that need to be repaired, we probably either need to change the cost-sharing percentage or we need to increase the dollar amount from the half-cent sales tax.
Ms. Barker, are we helping people put in septic tanks on new construction in Satellite Beach?
No, the INI pilot project is where we had sewage overflows during the hurricane, and the thought was that a lot of that overflow was due to inflow and infiltration into private lateral systems that feed into the public sewer system. And so utilities did smoke testing in the pilot area to identify where the problems were, and $840,000 was set aside for a pilot project to assist homeowners that were found to have breaks or issues in their lateral systems that contributed to that overflow, to get those fixed, and to, through that process, to learn what sorts of problems are out there in the privately owned side of the sewer utilities, and what an idea of, what it would cost to address those problems.
Okay, so when we did that, that's an existing problem that we really can't enforce unless we give them initiative to help them take care of a problem we have run into the lagoon. Here's my concern with this, Commissioner Tobias, and I'd have to run numbers on this. When I actually spoke to you yesterday, because I had a little heartburn of helping somebody put in a septic system, building a new home, because I thought that we should cover our own costs. We should pull our own weight when we're building new houses, my thought. And as people are building, we have to be responsible. We're just going to have to learn to do better things for our environment. And you explained to me here that it is very low % of people that would utilize this. You said it's typically people that live in a house, they're adding on addition to their house, and what they do a lot of times is they just dump all into the same septic, which can't hold it, or they do something they shouldn't do to avoid this. And you said it would be minimal, the people that would do this, and would keep them from creating problems into our lagoon, running waste into the groundwater. So I got a little bit more comfortable with that. I don't know if I could have the resolve in my heart right now, I'm not sure it's the right word, of picking up everybody's excess of helping them do this, because I think everybody's going to have to come up to the plate soon and start paying extra costs to take care of our waste. So I don't think I can support that, Commissioner Tobias, but again, if I had time to run numbers, it might be different, but I think that could be substantial. And I don't know if I have the, I'm sorry, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I said we could bring this back with some
Maybe we
better
could do
numbers.
that later, but I just don't think I'm wrapped around it for tonight. Is anybody else? I have no lights, guys, so.
Madam Chair?
Certainly.
I think we heard from the home builders here that for every, what was it, $1,000
Yeah.
increase, there are 100 homeowners that now no longer have the ability to purchase a home. So at a delta of whatever, $4,000, that's, quite a few folks that, that what we would consider diminutive that will no longer have the ability to be homeowners. So that's certainly a serious number, and I just find it very difficult to pay for partial I&I on a $2 million home in Satellite Beach, and there are a number of $2 million homes in Satellite Beach, but say that, if you're building a $400,000 home in Merritt Island, it's your responsibility to cover the difference. So I think there needs to be some consistency. I would not be opposed if we went back with the I&I and said, hey, we're going to control this on the value of your house. But I think once the precedent has been set, then we have to certainly be consistent with it, since we're using the same funds from the same source.
I struggle with that.
I would not be opposed if we table this and look at it for next week to run those numbers. But right now, I just the inconsistency troubles me more than anything else.
I know, well, they did I had a little heartburn with that, too. They're doing the pilot program, but I struggled with it, too. I think we need to find a way you would help me with this. I don't know if that has to come from the state of Florida level or what, but we're going to have to do something so that we can enforce homeowners on taking care of problems that they need to. So I don't know how to do all that.
But to be very clear for the audience, this is completely outside of the ordinance. So if we were to table this, it has zero impact on the ordinance
I'm good with that,
we
too.
just passed. So I would be more than willing. I think that this is something that requires more research, and if we were to bring up, table this and bring it back, the ordinance still would go forward whether this is here or not. So-
Eden's over there waving at me.
I'd like to remind the board that there's a second hearing on this ordinance on October 9th. So it may come back at that point.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Smith.
I think you touched on a very important point. We have no enforcement capability with the people in Satellite Beach that have failed laterals or whatever the problem is. If we're going to get them fixed, this is the carrot that allows us to get them fixed. Otherwise, they don't get fixed, and people can just go on ad infinitum with a failed system. And I point that out as very, very important because my own house, when I bought it, I knew I had a septic, which is important for me to note because I know a lot of people, when they buy a house, they don't even know they have a septic. As you mentioned, they didn't know that they had a septic or an advanced treatment unit that required maintenance. So part of my purchase agreement included an inspection for the septic tank. Well, I paid to have it pumped out, and they inspected the tank, and they said the tank's in great shape. Great. I wasn't smart enough to say I want the whole system inspected. There's where my problem showed up, because several years later, I was having trouble flushing my toilet, and when I had the plumber come out, long story short, I didn't even have a drain field. I had corrugated pipe running out into the front yard. So that's what spurred me to request, when Representative Fine was elected, and the other representatives at the time when we met in my office, to ask for a statewide inspection system that would require a new homeowner get an inspection on their septic system, whether it be included in the sale, who paid for it, whatever. I mean, realtors live with the fact that you have to get a roof inspected, which only affects the person living in the house. Why wouldn't the legislature support inspecting a septic system that affects the lagoon and all the surrounding homes? Well, the legislature, in their infinite wisdom, turned their thumbs down on the whole idea because they did not want to increase the cost and increase the burden on home sales. Well, I don't buy into that, because if you're buying a house that costs $100,000, $200,000, $1 million, you're going to get a mortgage. Most people are going to get a mortgage. And so when you incorporate the cost of a $10,000 or $14,000 septic system over the course of a 30-year mortgage, I really find that difficult to believe that that's going to keep somebody from buying their home. I just have a problem with that. So if you want to hold off on this item 3, I'm willing to hear what you have to say. I'm willing to hear what the numbers say. But I don't think you can equate the two. We don't have an enforcement ability for Satellite Beach. We do have an enforcement ability on new homes, whether they cost $1 million or $100,000.
Any more lights? Well, it's not really lights, but okay. Direction of the commission. Commissioner Barfield.
I move that we table Part 3 until we get further information.
Okay, I have a motion to table. Second by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. We're going to bring this back at the next meeting, Ms. Virginia? No?
I missed what more information you want for the next meeting, because that will have to be turned in.
I'll get a hold of you. I'm just looking for the cost with that suggestion. I kind of got to see some numbers I still have the same concern Commissioner Smith just elaborated on, so I need to, well, that's the, okay. I'll think of a few more for you.
Okay, I will pull together more information, and if that's not enough, you'll table it and you'll tell me what more you want.
We can send over what we want to.
We can send you stuff too, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just a quick comment on the breadth of the study. I think we made some positive steps today, but 19% of the nutrients that go in our septic tanks that currently exist. And while this won't make the problem any bigger, it won't fix that 19%. Am I understanding that decently well?
Yes, that's correct.
We have quite a bit of folks out here that are very concerned not only about the future but how we rectify the past. So I would ask, as you move forward, and I purposely tried to distance myself from that advisory board until it got here, but I think we've heard loud and clear that folks are very, very concerned about the septic tanks that are there. So I would ask, as you move forward with our Save Our Indian River Lagoon plan, that we focus more on the infrastructure of these septic tanks. And I know there's $68 million over whatever the life of it, but I wouldn't hear any heartache if that was $168 million, that we could take care of more of those concerns. So please, when you meet with that advisory board, please share the sentiment here that we took steps for the future, but we're actually going to have to look into the past and see how we rectify that. And if it means more dollars out of the Save Our Indian River Lagoon fund, I certainly would be a strong proponent of going in that direction.
Sir.
Yeah.
While we're on the subject of septic systems and failures, I just want to bring up a clarification. During my campaign, there was a disgusting flyer sent to people stating that my septic system failed. Commissioner Smith's septic system failed. Commissioner Smith polluted the Indian River Lagoon. Well, let me just tell you for the record that the County Health Department contacted my office aghast. They said, your system never failed. We don't know where those red letters came from that said failed. It was a paperwork error that occurred. Your system did not fail. So I want the public to know that Commissioner Smith did not pollute the system, the Indian River Lagoon, with his septic system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I think we're done with that item. All right. So we are going to move into board reports. No, we got one more here. Item E1. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioners, the item before you is is authorization for the chair to be able to sign the annual certified budget for mosquito control. The budget was approved earlier this evening, and it's in conformance with the previously submitted plan that was provided to the state in conformance with statutory requirements. This is a statutory requirement, and it doesn't change the budget from what was approved. It merely allows the chair to execute, along with the director of the department, to execute the documents that are required by the state to be filed for our annual budget.
Thank you, sir. Commission, what's your pleasure?
I move that we approve this.
Motion by Commissioner Barfield,
Second.
second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor, say, I'm sorry.
That's okay, no, no.
Yeah,
I
tell
just-
me you have
I
a
didn't
light.
want to interrupt your
Okay,
talking.
Commissioner Isnardi.
I just had a couple of questions about the budget. I mean, I had asked the budget director to look at, I didn't realize we had over 50 people in mosquito control, but I just had a question on the rentals and leases of $232,000. I noticed that training is $5,140, but the per diem travel is over $58,000. And I'm just wondering what that is. If we're only spending $5,000 in training, why are we spending $58,000 in travel and per diem?
I think the majority of the travel costs has to do with our pilot safety. Am I not? You hear me now? Yeah. I think the majority of our travel cost has to do with the pilots go to Texas every year to get some extensive safety training. That's I know that's part of it. We have various trade. We have to get our CEUs. Thank you. And now that I have the numbers in front of me, thanks. The Airbus A-Star helicopter pilot training, and that is what's the most significant amount here. They actually go through such extensive training where, they'll have them do kind of twists and turns and flips in the air to get themselves in all these situations that they could potentially get in when they're flying over our homes 100, 200, 300 feet off the ground. They don't have a lot of time to react, so it's one of those things that they do every year. And as an example, just a couple of months ago, they were out spraying like normal, and I got a call from the pilot. He was on the ground. He was at Dunn Airport in Titusville. He sensed that the tail rotor may be out, and he was trying to take all measures to prevent going into a spin. Now, it turned out that that wasn't the case. It was just showing the signs, but he put it safely on the ground at the airport and sat it down until the mechanic had a chance to look at it. But things like that, when I talked to him about it afterwards and realized how he had a plan, he knew what to do with the chemical, he knew how to put it down, he knew how to prevent it from spinning out of control and get away from all the homes and all that stuff. It's not something that you can do if you go to a workshop here and there intermittently. That's the kind of thing where you have to drive it in their head. They kind of have to train themselves to react in these kind of situations. So anyway, that's the most significant training there, and that's $37,900. Beyond that, we have the aircraft maintenance training. This is the helicopter mechanic. Of course, very important that the aircraft works properly for the same reasons. And that's just $5,700. The aerial pesticide chemical applicator training for the helicopter pilots. Lee County, every year, they have a huge fleet of helicopters and planes, and they put on a training so our pilots learn everything from safety, but more focused on the industry, what products are available, and how to use them. And they keep up their CEUs for their licenses. Beyond that, it's CEUs for everybody. Everybody at Mosquito Control, whether you work in the office or out in the field, has a public health pesticide license and has the ability to go out in a fog truck if we need to, in an emergency, say West Nile virus or Eastern equine encephalitis. But if nothing else, they maintain themselves as experts in the field, whether they're answering the phone or actually going to people's houses and responding. So.
Can I talk some more? I would just suggest in the future that instead of having it under the category travel and per diem, that you would put it under your category of training, because again, like it says train, that's why I asked the question, and I'm glad I did. For your training, it shows 5,140, and for travel and per diem, it shows 58,000. So to somebody not knowing, and maybe I should have called you before the meeting, but maybe it's good for the public sees it as well. And maybe next year, a more breakdown of the budget might be a little better, because there's over $400,000 under miscellaneous supplies. And you have many other supplies listed. And I'm not criticizing your budget like it may sound, I'm just questioning it because, again, if I'm a layperson could look at this and be disturbed by what they see, like, because your personnel costs are 30% of your budget. And that, that's why I asked for the personnel list, because I wanted to see how many employees are possibly costing over 30% of your $9.5 million budget. Because again, that's concerning unless you have the information. So just maybe a more detailed budget next year would be helpful. If that's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We do, don't we?
I think so.
Who made the motion? You have it? Okay. Kurt, that's what I thought. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Is this something you want to do tonight, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I'll do it under my board report.
Okay. Then I'll let you, Mr. Rabate.
No report.
Thank you. Ms. Bentley? No report. Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
Okay, I would like to make a motion to appoint Deborah Green as my appointee for the Tourism Development Council.
Okay, I have a motion for Ms. Deborah Green. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Barfield. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Sir, do you got anything else you'd like to?
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to Commissioner Tabaya for his pink attire tonight. Real men wear pink. And a shout out for his generous donation to the Real Men Wear Pink Breast Cancer Research and Awareness Campaign.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Tabaya?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple things real briefly. Thank you, Commissioner Smith, for spearheading this again. I know it's a lot of work and running a campaign and having a life outside of that is very difficult. So I appreciate your passion on many different levels. About 2 weeks ago, I got a phone call from a West Melbourne City Councilman by the name of John Ditmore regarding Hollywood Boulevard. During this meeting, he raised the possibility of the county potentially dedicating this road to the city. When you look at the map of this road, it certainly makes perfect sense for this to be a city road than a county road. So immediately I spoke with our expert, Mr. Denninghoff, and he said that this could be a possibility for us to do should they get consent from not only our board, but as well as the board of West Melbourne. This is something that needs to be done. However, it's not in our long-range work plan, and I appreciate the effort that we've put forward with that. I certainly don't want to change the plan, but I would also like to give the option of West Melbourne taking this. So I would like to, get the consent of the board to ask staff to potentially move forward and investigate, knowing that he has the support of the board to move forward with that dedication. That's the first thing, and then the second one is if you saw a guy who had no idea what he was doing on Derry Road in the middle of the road, that was me. I was working with the Public Works Landscape Operations crew, Chris Herkind. He trained me how to work complicated machinery that they made look extremely easy. It's amazing how heavy that machinery is, and the skill that they wield with it. Those lawnmowers, zero-turn lawnmowers, are almost impossible to drive on a straight road. The only questionable decision he had was putting me near a highway. But I can't believe the hard work that these folks did. I made it barely half of a day, and these guys do it 5 days a week. And they go to standards that are above state level. So when I was in the state legislature, I got a number of phone calls, and the phone calls were, why does it look so great in certain areas and so terrible in other areas? The great areas were the ones that Brevard County has set forth. Our cut rates are on many times a month during the high season, and the state does it far less often. So not only the work that they put forward, but for making Brevard County beautiful, it was a eye-opening experience. And I hate to admit this, but the texting and driving, I don't know that I'm ready to say ban it, but please pay attention. These folks have to actually stand in the almost the middle of the road as they blow the grass back into the median. So please pay special attention. These are fathers and mothers out there. And again, to Chris and his crew, thank you so much for working hard day in and day out to make Brevard County beautiful.
Thank you, sir. Do you want to get a consensus now for the road?
Do we need a vote or just a consensus?
Bring it up to the agenda item.
Just bring it up next time, or?
Agenda item. I'm all for it.
Can we go for it with it? I'm good.
Can we ask Mr. Denning what he would?
I would just suggest that direction for us to seek the idea to seek from city staff an indication if they would be considered or the council might consider such an action. The typical activity that is required to actually make the transfer would be a presentation of a resolution to the board and then a separate one to the city council, both being passed with the attached road legal description associated with it, similar to what we do with the Babcock Street recently with the city of Melbourne. Although that one was a little bit more complicated than it has to be. So I would propose a more simple approach. But
I think by the
that's what it
shaking
would
of
be.
heads that we're all...
Yeah, and this wouldn't obligate us to do anything. This would just give you the opportunity to go and make the initial ask and bring it back to us if it is viable, because Mr. Ditmore, I'm sure, was following Sunshine and didn't know the rest of the consent, so he may be out on an island on this, but he may not. And if they have the resources to do that, it would take the burden off us, so we could do other things and fix other roads. So I'd like to, give you direction to go ahead and start that conversation.
Commissioner Barfield?
Mr. Tobias, did I get that straight that you were actually operating machinery? Just want to know.
I don't mow my own lawn, and those edgers were things were flying up. It was very tenuous, to say the least.
All I have to say is I'm glad I live in Merritt Island.
Okay, Commissioner Isnardi?
I just wanted to thank staff for all the hard work on the budget, all the department heads, and we appreciate you more than you know. Thank you to our county manager, Frank, for all that you do and all of the bothersome phone calls we often make to get information from you and bounce ideas off you. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Amen.
Yeah, y'all did a great job. Okay, that's the end of our agenda tonight, and I'll call this meeting adjourned.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.